If I asked who's the best couple out of The Office, who would you say? Okay, time's up. Simple people said Pam and Jim. Real lovers responded Angela and Dwight. And trolls probably said something like Nellie and Toby. Gross. But if you're like me, the best couples are the worst couples. You know, the ones doomed from the beginning because they're blinded by the delusion that they're in love, when in actuality, it was just a job. The type of relationships that don't serve as leading examples in love, rather lust and detest. Basically, snap stories with intentional comedy added in, and as much as I enjoy watching them, I thought it'd be just as fun to dissect why they didn't work out in the first place. As a fan, I knew it'd be exciting to analyze the most toxic relationships in The Office and reflect on the signs presented from the beginning. So if you're messy like me, and clearly you are because you wouldn't be here, sit back, grab a beet salad or a nice bag of Utz chips, and let us dig into the toxicity throughout The Office.
I mean, I know that we said no big gifts, but I was kind of hoping you'd get me something for Valentine's Day.
Well, Valentine's Day isn't over. Let's get you home, and you are going to get the best sex of your life.
Early on, we're shown that there's an underlying tension between Pam and Roy due to their stretched out engagement. Though deeply bothered, Pam remains silent about this issue, even when it's joked about at the Dundies. If it wasn't for Jim's intervention, she would have continued to have longest engagement pinned to her like the Scarlet Letter. This says a lot about Pam and how she handles conflict in her relationship, as well as how she navigates her life. She's passive, insecure, and possibly even a people pleaser. Whatever Roy says goes because she just wants to keep the peace, and at that point in her life, her man. This was not only damaging to Pam, but Roy as well. Because if you aren't being corrected, how can you improve? Roy isn't being challenged as a partner and essentially as a man. Pam doesn't express her thoughts or feelings in fear of intimidation, leaving her frustrated. And Roy never hears any thoughts or feelings but his own, so he's left unfazed. So much so that he doesn't even make an effort to show up in the relationship anymore, no longer presenting himself as an attentive or affectionate partner unless it benefits him. He only ever does just enough, because why go the extra mile? Not like passive Pam is gonna say anything about it. He doesn't care to notice that she hates the longest engagement award, or even takes time out to get her a gift for Christmas or Valentine's Day. He's already the fiance, so he feels like his work is done. Once again, always doing just enough, reflecting his own stance in life. He does just enough. He's worked at the same job since high school, and Pam has never suggested a change, just like she never spoke up about the engagement, just like she said nothing after he called the purse saleswoman hot, and then just gonna let him tickle her after on Jim's desk like, oh my God, this is the passive Pam I'm talking about. Never expressing herself in fear of rejection, but in the end, all this does is create a bigger separation between the two and regress them as people. She never speaks up about things she desires, like gifts on Valentine's, or I don't know, a wedding date, for example, slowly feeding Roy's subconscious the idea that her wants are an afterthought. So when she's first offered the opportunity to go to art school, of course he immediately shuts it down. It's not something that he sees as beneficial to himself. And Pam submits as expected because she just wants to keep the peace. These two should have broke it off after graduation and called it a day, but instead they suffered emotional damage, pepper spray burns, and wasted wedding deposits before they saw the truth. Pam was insecure and Roy was too prideful. Negative attributes neither of them could grow out of with each other. And this is extremely evident in their new relationships as Roy learned piano for his new wife and Pam chose to chase her dream of being an artist when she got with Jim. One became more self-assured while the other selfless.
What happened with us when I get this job?
What do you mean, when I get the job?
Well, if you get the job, then I'd move here with you. Do you move with me?
Obviously, Jim and Pam are living la vida loca, eating all the brisket sandwiches they want in Austin by the end of the series. So it's easy to say the relationship he experienced with Karen was meant to fail because he was in love with another woman, which is correct, but only the partial truth. In hindsight, it was really Jim and his lack of communication about being in love with another woman that drove a wedge between he and Karen's illusion of bliss. They were bound to fail from day one because getting into a relationship with somebody without complete honesty is a setup for a tragic demise, period. Additionally, the truth that you're holding back is that you have feelings for someone else.
So what are you gonna say at my funeral now that you've killed me?
Jim knew when getting into his relationship with Karen that he still had feelings for Pam. I mean, he was literally on the phone with her days prior to the merger, giggling about blockbuster mix-ups, and that was the highlight of his whole move to Stanford. He never looked that happy with Karen before or after the merger, and that's just me being real. Yeah, they had a few moments like the chip scavenger hunt and the chair swap, but they struggled to have that same rapport like he shared with Pam. I mean, come on now. Chips and chairs. Beach Day is a good exception, but that intimacy is quickly ruined as Pam uses this as one of her aforementioned self-assuring moments. And that moment made Karen look more like a cuck than Andy ever did. Honestly, justice for Karen, because imagine uprooting your home, personal life, and career to work with and live near your boyfriend, who you find out has feelings for another coworker. And don't even get me started about another woman coming up to your man at a bonfire saying she misses their friendship. Girl, excuse me?
Have you lost your mind? Because I'll help you find it.
Jim wasn't a bad boyfriend entirely, but he was bad for Karen. He wasted her time and made her look like Boo Boo the fucking fool. Telling her to accept the job offer from the Scranton branch was a sign of desperation. He didn't want to face the woman who rejected him twice, especially single, and we all know Jim never likes to confront his issues. A relationship can't work without honesty, and both parties were lying to themselves the whole time. Jim knew from the beginning of their relationship to the end that he wanted to be with Pam, and so did Karen. She just never wanted to accept it. This relationship was built on deception and a lack of communication. What started out as a tool to mend a broken heart created another. Ooh, I like that. Keep that in. Karen loved Jim, Jim loved Pam, and Pam loved being messy. So ladies, remember, if your man ever make another heifer laugh, make sure that's the last joke either of them ever crack. Okay?
50.
What are you doing?
I need a hug, unless you're gonna give me one.
Not here.
The relationship between Andy and Angela is one of the most agonizing to watch because I've never seen a more forced couple in my life. Two people who share no similar interests, personalities, or respect for one another, attempting to share a life together. One is a conservative snob who power trips over birthday parties and licks cats, while the other is a rich, eccentric weirdo who blows up mailboxes with high schoolers and flirts with his cousin. Actually, they may have been a match made in hillbilly heaven, but that's not the point. It's as if I was watching 90 Day Fiancé Scranton every time they were on screen. Shotgun marriages have more chemistry than this, and they at least share something in common. It's usually a child, but still. The demise of Andy and Angela was inevitable because they didn't even like one another as people, better yet partners, before they even got together. It was very clear the disdain Angela had for Andy. I mean, am I tripping? Or did she not leave him for dead on beach day floating with the mallards? Now, did he deserve it? Yes. What type of sicko throws rocks at mallards? But that doesn't take away from the facts. Angela never even liked Andy enough as a co-worker to love or appreciate him as a partner. She only wanted him as a distraction and vengeful spite. She literally ignores him and basically does so up until the death of Sprinkles, aka the end of her and Dwight's relationship, and only ends up giving Andy the time of day because he subjected himself to being the servant Phyllis refused to be, and gave her a cat Dwight discovered. So he becomes her runner boy and now she's interested? Am I supposed to be impressed? She doesn't hug or kiss him, makes it clear that his personal interests like the satyr or singing annoy her, has a very active affair with an ex-boyfriend, and still has the audacity to request her ideal wedding and have him pay for everything. And correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't it the bride's family who pays for the wedding? Or let us also not forget she only dated Andy to separate herself from Dwight and make him jealous. And don't even get me started on Michael being the one to break the news to Andy about the affair. Like, oh my God, Angela has used the office as her personal brothel and doesn't even have the ovaries to get up and confess her sins. But Pam is the office mattress? Girl, please. Angela Martin is the most presumptuous and pretentious person I've watched in my life. She consistently patronizes those around her, always finds negativity in anything, too prideful to admit fault, lacks a true sense of self, is extremely male-centered, and truly is the most insecure person on the show. She needs to be the leader of a made-up committee to actually be heard. She must marry the senator in order to receive perceived power. And she can't go a day without attempting to belittle someone. That crisp glass of humility she was forced to drink in season 9 after the senator left her was necessary. And honestly, well overdue karma for treating Andy so horribly. But I wouldn't be fair if I didn't acknowledge Andy's faults in the relationship. No, he didn't deserve to get cheated on and be on the receiving end of a loveless engagement, but this was all avoidable. He got himself into this mess. Up until today, I always wondered why Andy neglected to acknowledge the insufficient regard Angela held for him prior to their engagement. From her lack of affection to belittling him in all his interests and, I don't know, leaving him in the water to die. What kind of person ignores red flags like this? Oh, Somebody who don't give a damn. See, we can't forget how Andy's persona is all about image. He never loved Angela or cared about marrying her. Truth be told, he was only attracted to the aesthetic she presented. Andy's whole intention behind proposing to Angela was just to get his parents to see him as successful and extra status points in the office. Again, he and Angela only saw one another as a tool to use for their own personal use. Andy wanted status and Angela wanted security, neither actually leading with love, and both being the reason this relationship was a setup for an emotional turmoil from the beginning.
Hello, baby. How are you? Good to see you. Who's your daddy? You don't know who your daddy is, do you? No, you don't. Come on.
We have made it to the creme de la creme of toxicity, the capital of insanity, and the demonic duo that inspired this video, Jan and Michael. Watching these two is like when you vomit and then you smell it and it's like, oh God, why? They give me such an eerie feeling, like a mix of secondhand embarrassment and anger. On one end, you have Michael, the sentimental man who only wants to experience his hallmark love story of marriage, kids, and ketchup fights. And on the other, Jan, a woman who fell from grace and only wants to experience peace of mind again, even if that peace of mind is gained through pain of others. Throughout this video, I don't think anybody has ever treated one another worse than Jan and Michael. From the start, we're already shown Michael doesn't respect Jan as a boss. He would make inappropriate comments and consistently undermine her authority. And Jan never respected Michael as an employee because she thought he was stupid and felt it'd be better if the Scranton branch was shut down completely. Neither of them actually liked one another going into the relationship, and these feelings only worsened as they advanced from co-workers to partners. Michael could barely contain himself anytime he was asked about their relationship, whether it was describing how they fell asleep together after their business meeting or sending a topless photo to Todd Packer. He seemed to romanticize Jan and looked at her like a prize, while Jan looked at Michael like gum on the bottom of her shoe. Disgusting and a vibe killer. Which basically already told us how this relationship was going to play out. A trophy with no shine and a shoe covered in gunk? Yeah, looks like trash to me. If I'm being honest, before I started collecting the information for this video, I was 80% sure Jan was the biggest problem in her and Michael's relationship. Now I'm about 75. I'm on my 5th watch of the show, and I still feel like she's an erratic. But now I realize she was an erratic in a relationship with Michael, a man who eats Alfredo before a marathon. So I think I should have been giving her just a centimeter more of grace. Because seriously, imagine you go to Chili's with some coworkers, get a little too tipsy, and accidentally fall asleep with one of them. Inappropriate, yes. But you know what's even more inappropriate? That same coworker harassing you to get into a relationship with them because they felt such a strong connection from a night of sleep. Then imagine that same coworker claiming y'all knocked boots and are now boyfriend and girlfriend in front of other associates. Jan was taunted from the beginning and I empathized with her. But why turn around and then date the man when she knows good and damn well he discussed her? Because your therapist said so? Now, is this the same therapist that watched tapes between her and Michael? Because I think they may be the real Scranton Strangler masking as a medical professional. Now that we're on the toxic topic of discussion, let's assess the wrongdoings between the two during the actual relationship. Both were bad, but just how bad? Jan, you're up. In order of her least vile acts to most, we have Jan getting with Michael after telling him he had a sucky personality, Jan asking did Michael drug her during their nightcap, overly critiquing Michael after she got curved on casino night, trying to get the Scranton branch shut down even while she was dating him, moving in with Michael and forcing him into 2 jobs to pay off her Porsche while she had none, not wanting to turn in their love contract, getting cosmetic surgery just to keep Michael, forcing Michael to sleep on a stool, breaking Michael's plasma TV and Dundee Award, and ignoring Michael's safe word. She's literally a sexual predator, y'all. Filming and critiquing the sex between her and Michael to her alleged therapist, cheating on Michael with her teenage assistant, again, the predator, bringing Michael's diary to a hearing and forcing Michael to get 3 vasectomies while she got pregnant by a sperm donor during their relationship.
God, my mind is going a mile an hour.
That fast.
Oh.
Now, these last 2 instances happened after they'd already broken up, but I just had to insert them as cherries on top of this already lopsided cake. Because asking Michael to pay for ass turds college funds and telling him not to date Holly exemplifies all of the she-devil ways in which Jan Levison operates. Granted, she was on heavy painkillers and seemed to have no issue mixing them with a nice glass of wine back then, so I can't say she was in her right mind, but I also can't excuse sexually assaulting your boyfriend or teenagers. Jan is the reason I studied psychology, and honestly, somebody needed to study her. Whew! Now that I've gone through that hell, let's bring Michael to the stand and have one look over at his crimes to this already irreparably damaged relationship, shall we? Starting off in order from least trifling act to most, we have Michael thinking he'd pimp Iceberg Slim by inviting Carol and Jan to casino night. Michael sending intimate vacation photos of Jan to Todd Packer and evidently the whole warehouse. Michael breaking up with Jan over the phone wasn't horrible, but it does illustrate his cowardly ways, and him getting back with her just because she got some new titties displays his shallowness. Which also goes into my last vile act from Michael, which pales into comparison to all Jan has put him through, but is still applicable. After Michael tries to flee on the train and Jan comforts him, he tells her not to sell her implants because they look good, even though she's already stated that they make her uncomfortable. But see what happens when you ignore people's safe words, Jan? You're forced to keep them rocks on your chest. Wow. Even after going through both their misdeeds, Jan comes out on top as the most disrespectful, negligible, pretentious, and predatory partner, not just in this relationship, but every single one discussed throughout this whole video. Her actions demonstrated a complete disregard for boundaries, a chilling lack of empathy, and calculated manipulation that surpassed even the worst offenses on this list. From cheating on your fiance throughout your whole engagement, never supporting their dreams, or even keeping them in the dark about your true feelings, she makes Angela and Pam look like saints, Jim and Roy like prophets, and Andy and Karen more pitiful than Michael could ever be. And I think that says a lot. I would be lying if I said Jan and Michael didn't love each other, because they supported one another in their darkest moments. From Jan losing her job to Michael going broke. And that's very telling of the type of devotion they held for one another. But as this video displayed in multiple instances, just because you love someone doesn't mean y'all are meant for one another. Jan and Michael at most should have stopped at the one night stand of sleeping and kept it pushing. From the moment they met, it was evident they were on different wavelengths and that Jan would always see Michael as subordinate, secondary, and bottom line, less than her. And Michael, on the other end, would always see Jan as superior, higher up, and more valuable than he was. And how damaging is that? In all honesty, the foundation of their relationship was primarily lust and emotional need, factors that seldom lead to lasting commitment. So folks, just remember, never accept the invitation to eat baby back ribs at Chili's with coworkers, because you just might end up pregnant by a sperm donor or filing for bankruptcy. And that's a wrap. Hopefully this exploration of toxic relationships in the office has both been entertaining and slightly terrifying. But if you made it this far, you're officially as messy as I am, and I salute you. These relationships make me seriously question the writer's own love lives though. Are they okay, and has anybody checked on them? All in all, I hope this video has not only entertained you, but also deepened your appreciation for the brilliance of The Office and its wonderfully flawed characters. So don't forget to let me know in the comments which relationship you found most disturbing and who your favorite couple is in The Office, for better or worse. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to y'all later. Mwah. Bye.